down to rice sufficiency in Nigeria. 18 states produced over 17 million tons of rice in 2016.
In Bayelsa State, 22 suspected criminals, including kidnappers and cultists, paraded by the Bayelsa State Command.
Science and Technology Minister charges Project Development Institute PRODA to source raw materials locally.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on irregular as well as illegal migration.
From Italy to Libya, through Asia, the United States to Europe, it has been a disheartening tale of deportations, death and inhuman treatment of Nigerian men and women, children and youths who migrated or are migrating illegally to these countries.
Well said. This is a sad commentary indeed. Several thousands of Nigerians have been deported since the beginning of the year from some African nations, as well as in the month of May. 165 Nigerians voluntarily returned from Libya.
Yes, indeed, and in fact, data from the European Union indicates that Nigeria ranks the 5th of the illegal immigrants in Europe, with about 83 Nigerians migrating illegally into EU nations on a daily basis, while Nigerians constituted 21% of illegal immigrants in Italy in 2016.
Now, for United Nations as well as other international organizations, data from them reveal that sometimes for months on end, young African men and women risk everything, including their lives, to take on that perilous trip across dozens of borders, from the desert as well as the treacherous waves of the Mediterranean Sea in search of the better life in the north.
Regrettably, Blessing, some die along the way, some are turned back, and some who finish the journey realize that life may not be easier across the frontier. But with few jobs and dim prospects at home, millions of youths and young adults in Africa still choose to migrate, often clandestinely.
Well, Kieran, such movement of people, as you know, always pose the difficult questions. What exactly are they looking for? And for governments, these are some of the questions, and as well as the international community, one of the most pressing concerns of the government and citizens in such industrialized countries is that of irregular migration. They know that they come in illegally for whatever reasons. Bogus marriages are in question, overstaying temporary admissions, as well as abuse of asylum systems, and the difficulty of removing some of these unsuccessful applicants. That is for those who are actually lucky. And for those who are lucky to make it back home, aspect of Boko Haram insurgency, Niger Delta crisis, and pursuit of greener pastures for some of the reasons given why they actually risk their lives on some of these journeys that we have indicated, as well as other contending issues. Well, solutions to some of these areas or the questions that you might have, we will be putting before our guest today on the program Good Morning Nigeria, as we'll be speaking to this particular issue of irregular migration as well as illegal migration. Welcome to this edition of the program. My name is Blessing Abu, and you're watching this on Africa's largest television network, the NTA.
And my name is Kieran Umay, also welcoming you to the program. In the course of the program, we shall, as usual, bring to you our companion segments, which include newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and entertainment news. It's now time for the morning news with Laure Bala Hassan. Hello, Laure. Over to you now.
Hello, Kieran and Blessing. Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to the news. Records of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture show that Nigeria produced over 17 million tons of rice in 2016 in 18 states of the Federation. The records also show significant increase in wheat production initiative. This is coming as rice and wheat farmers advocate a review of the national rice and wheat policy for sustainability of the success recorded in the production of the commodity.
In 2016, we have 70% increase in production of wheat. We have 105% increase in production of rice.
So the first time that we did this ANCO program with the government coming as an ANCO was during the 2016 rain-fed season, where over 360 million naira was actually invested in supporting the farmers with all the required inputs and some equipment as well.
The FCT administration in the last 2 years has processed and given out over 1,000 certificates of occupancy to landowners, having sanitized the land administration procedure in the nation's capital. Director Abuja Geographic Information System Aegis Isa Jallo, while briefing the media in Abuja as part of FCT activities commemorating 2 years of the Buhari administration, said the FCT administration now generates an average of 50 million naira daily from land administration alone.
To ensure that we have very reliable and transparent staff that are ready to drive the change agenda.
Where services are not provided, you'll be allocated land for 10, 20 years. You cannot access the land, you cannot go and develop. So what the minister is saying is there must be an engineering design for a district before allocations are made so that you can access your land and develop.
Acting President Yemi Osinbajo has again assured Nigerians that the Buhari administration is not deaf to grievances in parts of the country, saying that the government will address them, while urging that such grievances be expressed with grace. In response to the recent spate of agitation spitting from groups in the southeast, the acting president had had a series of engagement and consultations with political, traditional and media leaders from across the country. A statement by the senior special assistant to the acting president, Laolu Akonde, says the meetings were convened to provide a platform for frank and open discussions between the concerned stakeholders on issues relating to the unity, peace and security of the country. The meetings condemned all the hateful and divisive rhetoric and affirmed the supremacy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which guarantees freedom of residence and of movement for all Nigerians anywhere in the country without fear of discrimination or prejudice. The Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, has charged the pencil production team of Project Development Institute, PRODA, to look inwards and source raw materials locally in order to embark on massive production of pencils. The minister gave the charge when he visited the institute to assess the level of work at Pencil House.
I choose pencil because of its simplicity and also its usefulness. We want to, employment for our young people.
If we had funds, would have been to install some machines that are still in their packages that are supposed to be in this beneficiating hall.
22 suspected criminals have been paraded by the Bayelsa police for various offences, including kidnapping and cultism. Commissioner of Police Amba Asuko Amba paraded the suspects in Yenogua.
Within the past 1 month, we had apprehended 21 armed robbers. That is to tell you that we are going to unleash all our efforts and weapons towards making the business a very unlucrative business.
Enugu State Governor has keyed into the housing policy of the Buhari administration to provide affordable and decent housing. The state government has embarked on the construction of over 700 housing units through private partnership agreement.
It further underscores the usefulness of synergy and cooperation between government and the private sector in the quest for a rapid development.
24/7 water supply, we're doing a dam, then we are doing independent electricity supply so that people who live here won't be suffering the erratic supply.
And that's the news for now. Kirian and Blessing will be back after this break. Good morning.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Now, as the financial market resumes today from the Salah holiday, policymakers across Africa converge on Abuja to discuss development strategies towards attaining sustainable development goals. Details with Leah Kaltung Babatunde.
Hello and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria Business News. Nigeria will from today host a 3-day high-level policy dialogue on development planning in Africa. The dialogue brings together Africa's top policy makers, hosted by the Economic Commission for Africa (ECA) and the Nigerian government. The 5th high-level policy dialogue on development planning comes under the theme mainstreaming the sustainable development goals into national development plans. Following the endorsement of Agenda 2030 for sustainable development, African countries have been trying to domesticate the process, offering them an opportunity to align national visions and development strategies to the SDGs. The high-level dialogue gives participants an opportunity to discuss key issues for Africa's transformation, sustainable development priorities and aspirations in light of the continent's commitment to the SDGs as they continue to mainstream and domesticate the SDGs into national planning processes. Oil prices rose for a 4th consecutive session on Tuesday, boosted by a weaker dollar and investors covering short positions, but worries over persistent oversupply capped gains. The gains mean the market is up slightly so far this week after spending much of the last month in negative territory. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its partners have been trying to reduce a global crude glut with production cuts. OPEC nations and 11 other exporters agreed in May to extend cuts of 1.8 million barrels per day until March 2018. Despite the cuts, which started in January, markets remain well supplied due to rising output elsewhere. OPEC members Nigeria and Libya are exempt from the cuts and have raised production. OPEC member Iran was also allowed a small increase to recover market share lost under Western sanctions over its nuclear program. Nigeria's projected August export are at their highest since March 2016 at around 2 million barrels per day. Now, finally, Ministry of Agriculture Adobe says the future of agriculture in Nigeria lies in the hands of the youth, but they must first be encouraged to show interest in agriculture. Adobe shared this view while addressing panic issues surrounding Nigeria's yam exports as the largest producer of the food commodity. The minister took to his Twitter handle during the holiday to explain what the process entails and its benefit to farmers and others along the value chain. He said we cannot diversify our economy if we do not explore new ways of creating wealth and earning foreign exchange, especially in items on which we have competitive advantage and superior production capacity. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, Nigeria accounts for 61% of yam production in the world. The export of Nigerian yams is not new. It has just been going on through other ports and largely unaccounted for due to sharp practices. According to the minister, if nearby Ghana that does not grow anywhere near 1/10 of the yams Nigeria grows is targeting $4 billion in yam exports, Nigeria can do better. Over 30% of the yams Nigeria produces rot away, and exports therefore provides opportunities to earn foreign exchange and produce more yams. There is no need for panic about the non-availability of yams for Nigerians to consume. On June 29, 2017, a total of 72 metric tons of yam will leave the shores of Nigeria to Europe and US, heralding a new dawn in Nigeria's food exports. That is business news for this hour. Thank you for watching. My name is Leah Katum Babatunde.
Thank you very much, Leah Katung Babatunde. Now it's time for our newspaper review on Good Morning Nigeria.
And our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Altoyabi, is here in the studio as always. Bayo, it's my pleasure to welcome you once again to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
On a working day.
Good morning, Kirian.
You worked yesterday, Kirian, didn't you?
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning.
Okay, let's start off the review this morning. The Daily Trust is the first paper I'll look at. Let's start off with just below the nameplate. Bill seeks full amnesty for Treasury looters. That's how it's captured on the front page. Page 3 will let you into that particular story. Leading for the Daily Trust this morning, agitations, Sultan calls for dialogue to douse tension. My deals with regional leaders by Oshibanjo, that's the acting president. All the details continues on page 5, but starts right there. On the front page still, you have this photograph, Emir of Kazare, Alhaji Najib Hussaini Adamu during a durbar in Kazare, Jigawa State yesterday. 3 murders nabbed for selling Indian hemp. That's story you find on page 4. Customs generate 239 billion naira in Q1, exceeds target with 46 billion naira. All the details on page 14. And back to page 4, you find the story, My Loyalty to Buhari, Ganduje, Unshakable. Emir Sanusi says, of course, Ganduje is the governor of Kano State, and okay, that's the story there on page 4.
Okay, yeah, Blueprint now. Let's go to Blueprint, and below the nameplate, Abga to Kano, you are not Igbo Emperor. That's on page 6, and then below that, Atiku hails APC governors on others on restructuring. That's on page 15. And then Nigeria's population will exceed US before 2020, says United Nations. Details on page 32 of Blueprint. And Buhari right to speak to Nigerians in Hausa language. Page 6 has that story. And between that, we have 85% of IDPs return home in Yoruba, says official. That's on page 17. And Spain deports 23 Nigerians on page 14. Now, the main headline on Blueprint, ethnic agitation, symptoms of rot in our system, says Sultan Saad Abubakar III. With the rider, federal government will address them. Shebajo says, that's the acting president. And then we are working towards failure, says Utomi. Okay, that's on page 6 of Blueprint. Then we have the photograph there of several mayors, in the picture there. Of course, yesterday was the last day of the solar celebration, so that's a sign of that. And then on the foot of a Blueprint, we have it's shameful for a governor to steal public funds. Bindo. Page 20 has the story on Blueprint. Maybe Bayo should come in here.
Yes, let's start with the remark by the Sultan. He has identified that the challenges we are having are factors of rot from the past. And specifically, he also addressed the issue by saying that dialogue is the only remedy to resolve the misunderstandings and the problem. It was during a situation where the governor of Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike, paid him a salah homage in Sokoto. Governor Nyesom Wike also asserted that we in the people of Rivers State and the Rivers government believe in oneness and unity of Nigeria. And he added, for those who have one problem or another, there are many ways to sit and resolve the problems. And he stressed that he described the Sultan as a father to all and a peace builder. The other time he was with us in Rivers, and today I came to pay homage to him and the governor. Related to that is also the pronouncement by the All Progressive Congress, All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, says that The call to boycott Anambra elections of November 18 by separatist group is irresponsible, irredentist, and totally devoid of focus. The publicity secretary for Abuja, Ifeatu Obioko, says in a statement in Oka that the IPOB leader has no authority to speak for the Igbos of the Southeast. He says the favorable comments that, according to him, has been attracted on the concept of Biafra is born out of marginalization. He stressed that other youths across the country are also very restive about one agitation or the other. He says the agitation in the Southeast has not instituted a separatist movement nor a terrorist gang. He advised the Nnamdi Kanu not to assume a posture of an emperor. Rather, he should humble himself to succumb to the leadership of the Igbo.
All right, Bayo. Also on the agitation story, that is what is leading for the independent newspaper. Federal government open to genuine agitations. This is coming from acting president Yemi Osinbajo. With some writers there, protests symptom of rot in the system, says Sultan. Also call for self-determination, not declaration of war. This comes from IPOB. Odumaki Fani Kayode, Onuesoke Hill, IBB support for restructuring. All the details you find on the inside page. What's worrisome the story is that Nigeria loses 40% of yam produce to poor storage. That's on the left side of the paper, Independent. With the writer, country's export to United Kingdom, United States of America begins Thursday. That story starts right there but continues on page 3. Now, another worrisome one. Abducted police women now are slaves, Shekau boasts in new video. That's how the Independent paper reported this morning. Story starts right there as well. It continues on page 4. Then to the economy matter, 2017 budget. Federal government share of 1.25 trillion naira local debt finance. That story is on page 5.
All right, before I can, so you can take some of the yes. Now, on Guardian, the Guardian newspaper, the main headline, over 2,000 Nigerians in Libya private prisons. Of course, this connects our topic for this morning. Yeah, and it's still happening. And now, with the writer, returnees beg federal government and IOM to double evacuation efforts. And Spain deported 23 Nigerians. We also read that on a blueprint. And then the photograph you find there is that of Sultan of Sokoto and the visiting governor of Rivers State, Yeson Wike. And on the right-hand side, we have electricity users. Disco showdown looms as consumers blame NEC for supply fraud. That's on page 3. You get that on page 3. And then following that below is Qatar paid 10-year-old daughter of FIFA official £1.6 million. That's on page 45. Now, below the photograph, we have agitations reflective of rot in politics, says Sultan. That is also on blueprint. And Masop urges Khan to stop praying for Nigeria. What is the reasons for this? Maybe Bayo will tell us more on that. Then warns against proliferation of Yoruba churches in the southeast. All right, group charts hip-hop for comment on Jonathan. Bayo.
Yes, let's start with the issue about Libya. Libya has become a matter of concern for most Nigerians. Why? Not once, not twice. Nigerians over 140 have been deported from Libya. And whenever they arrive in Nigeria, the stories they tell are very gory about Nigerians in Libya prison. I think that should be something that would be of interest to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And Nigerians too, particularly the young ones who think there are greener pastures there across in Libya, should begin to hear this information and think twice about their
Bayo, that's our topic for this morning. So it's a serious matter.
Why they go to war-torn countries. Libya has not been in peace in the past 10 years. So how would the Nigerian...
The reasons are not far-fetched because Libya and Morocco are the fringes of Europe, and they see that place as a gateway. But what they go through, passing through the desert, thousands of kilometers, many of them have died in the scorching sun in the Sahara Desert.
And even in the sea.
And many are not reported. And so those are the perils that the young ones are not aware of. They are told of rosy stories which are false across there, and people take desperate risk to go across there. However, let's come back home and talking about restiveness in Nigeria. The acting president has said that the consultation embarked upon by him recently is aimed at consulting with different readers so as to pursue the need to address legitimate agitations and ensure unity. The spokesman for the acting president, Laolu Akande, says in the statement that the government was not deaf to such genuine demands, but different ethnic nationalities. He stressed that government will listen to all and also encourage them to make their demand, but this should be made in a decorum and also not to offend the Constitution. Talking about the issue of a bill, there seems to be an amnesty bill for looters at the House of Representatives, and the bill is proposed by Honorable Linus Okorie. In fact, it has passed the first reading at the House of Representatives. On it, it is intended that any citizens who have some such acquired money or have it illegally should come forward to declare it. Such a person should have a time frame within period he should declare that money. Also, he will be required to pay a tax of about 50% and also a surcharge of 25%, totaling about 75%, so that he will be now begin some grace or amnesty. Already some civil society groups have challenged that. They says it is giving corruption a safe landing and also undermining the war against corruption. The bill has passed first reading and it is supposed to come for second reading before it will be debated on the floor of the House of Representatives.
Okay, now let's go to Punch. We haven't taken Punch. Let's, I hope we still have time to take Punch. Yes. All right. Punch, let's go to the, of course, before the nameplate to have 6 social media don'ts for businesses. That we have on the right side, I will attend Bible college after politics. That says Bode George. That story is on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Then I have no confidence in Nigerian security forces, says Niger governor. Then Tambuwal leads Wike, PDP stalwart to Sultan of Sokoto. That's also on page 10. And then the main headline here, National Assembly lacks power to insert new projects into budget, says SANS. And then the writer, court didn't validate NAS bid to increase budget. Now let's go to the foot of the Punch newspaper for today and see what is there. Okay, now Spain, the Post 23, we have that story again in other newspapers, and then followed by a policeman killed in Gombe boundary riot. And of course, we are not deaf to your grievances, Shebaju tells agitators.
Let's quickly comment about Governor Abubakar Sani Bello. He's lamenting that he spent about 100 million every month on security, yet the social challenges of armed robbery, kidnapping, cattle rustling, and murder has continued. And he's already trying to find a solution. He says he's going to go the traditional way. He's going to entrust and give more power to traditional rulers so that they will be the ones to help muster security in their areas.
The issue may have been, how is the 100 million naira, the spends for the security job? Because
well, the governor is lamenting.
Money does not carry out security.
He's lamenting that he's spending 100 million naira a month and he's not getting results because the issues they are supposed to address security are always on the increase.
Anyway, let's see what will be done. What the people want is to have a secured environment to actually do their business and move about freely. Okay, I think that will be all for the newspaper review bio. We'll hope to see you again tomorrow.
Tomorrow. See you then, inshallah.
This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break. At this point, when we return, we'll take on our conversation, taking a look at irregular migration as well as the illegal means to getting out of the country by young persons of late.
The Future Assured project of the wife of the president, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, is carrying out free medical screening and distribution of food items at various IDP camps while ensuring the economic empowerment of women through training and skill acquisition. In recognition of her efforts, wives of governors have lent their voices and support.
In Kogi State, we feel the impact of Future Assured, especially in women and children.
The Future Assured program of Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, the wife of the president, has been very assuring and still reassuring in Sokoto State. It has impacted positively in the areas of humanity, especially women and children.
Supports the Future Assured initiative. Email Programs at futureassured.org.ng. Future Assured, promoting and protecting the lives of Nigerian women and children.
All right, now you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. From Africa to Europe, the issue of irregular migration has left many Nigerian families counting their losses and tales of inhuman treatment in pursuit of greener pastures abroad. But in spite of their ordeals, the end of their illegal sojourn appears not in sight. And in this background report, correspondent Ngozi Chude tells us more.
These are part of the 165 Nigerians who voluntarily returned from Libya on May 25, 2017. The returnees, made up of 97 males, 54 females, 11 children and 3 infants, cut the picture of a fraction of Nigerians who want to illegally migrate to Europe and brought the North African country. They were lucky to live and tell their stories after surviving the dangerous attempt to cross the Mediterranean Sea, which have claimed many lives.
I'm a nurse. There's no money for me to open my own store. That's why I traveled. We are just going there to suffer. There's no enjoyment there.
Many of their compatriots on the journey were not so lucky and have paid the supreme price. For some time, there has been allegations that Libya has been executing black illegal immigrants. While that is not ascertained, the fact that many Nigerians and people of African descent drown every week in the Mediterranean Sea while trying to illegally migrate from Libya into Europe is certain. Records have it that migrants from Nigeria constitute 21% of the total 171,299 immigrants that took the daring route of the Mediterranean Sea to arrive in Italy in 2016. In addition, data from the European Union indicate that an average of 83 Nigerians crossed illegally from Nigeria to Europe daily via the Mediterranean in the first 9 months of 2016. While most of these illegal immigrants claimed they were running away from Boko Haram insurgency, others claim the Niger Delta crisis as the cause of the migration. The flow of Nigerian immigrants to Italy and other European countries via the Mediterranean backdoor reportedly began in 2008. Though it declined for 5 years, it began to soar again in 2013. These movements could be legal or undocumented. They encompass all social categories, including refugees, internally displaced persons, nomads migrating in search of pasture lands, young men and women setting off from the countryside in search of job opportunities in the city, employment seekers, and increasingly qualified persons, including women and children under the age of 18. From observation, it is believed that the main motivating factor is the search for the golden fleece for a better life. Experts have also identified that poor socioeconomic conditions such as low wages, high levels of unemployment, rural underdevelopment, poverty and lack of opportunity fuel migration. Other factors, they say, include poor governance, nepotism and corruption, human rights violations, political instability, environmental factors, conflict and civil strife, greater security, and better education. Invariably, surviving in these host communities doesn't come cheap or easy, as the case may be. And so many Nigerians are falling victim of xenophobic attacks, human trafficking, internet fraud, and of course crimes and prostitution. At the 32nd annual meeting of the Sahel and West Africa, organized by the Food Crisis Protection Network, President Muhammadu Buhari frowned at the high rate of illegal migration of Nigerian youths to European countries through the Mediterranean Sea. The president called for an immediate stop to the action by Nigerians, saying it was unfair to European countries. But be it as it may, some analysts are quick to add that the checking out of these youths, like Andrew in the 1980s commercial, is a cause for worry and should be stemmed. But the question is, what should be done? Who should do it and how? These are more what guests will be addressing today on Good Morning Nigeria shortly.
This is Good Morning Nigeria. No doubt you've been moved by that background report, but then let's get to meet our guest as we commence our conversation. I'd like to start the introduction from here. We're being joined in the studio by Mrs. Julie Oka-Donley. She's the Director General National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. Thank you for joining us on the program, DG NAPTIP.
Thank you very much.
And we also have joining us, but this time from our Lagos studio, Osita Osemene of the Osita Osemene is of the Patriotic Citizens of Nigeria. He's among the lucky persons who made it back after he embarked on this journey of irregular migration to at one point in his life. We'd like to welcome you, Mr. Osemene, to the program.
Good morning.
Okay, Kirian, we'll start off from here.
All right. Madam, you're welcome once again. All right, this is a question we'd like all our guests to actually, answer. And let's begin with Osita in Lagos. Osita, I hope you can hear me clearly. Now, the fact that many Nigerians have died and others suffer inhuman, treatment, and yet irregular and illegal migration has persisted. Now, from your experience, what would you make of this kind of situation which has persisted in this country?
From my experience and from my work so far, I found out that the smugglers and the human traffickers are more active in their drive, ensuring the recruitment of these young ones by painting a lot of palatable stories about what happens in Europe. And they will never tell you the dangers you're going to encounter along the way. It is always in their own picture. They always paint it to be greener, because they have capitalized on the fact that a lot of Nigerians are desperate, a lot of Nigerians are unemployed, a lot of Nigerians are greedy, looking for this means of getting rich quick. So when they notice that this group, being so much in number of youths, that they are desperate, they want to travel, they cook up these stories and make them understand that, look, with 50,000 naira, with 60,000 naira, with 100,000 naira, I will take you to Europe in less than 5 days. And you have a lot of them on ground. You have a lot of them on the street wanting to go to Europe at all cost. So the smugglers are more active than those that are preventing this menace. So that is why it has increased so much. And being the fact that there's a claim that the hardship is so much now in Nigeria, and the youths are capitalizing on that fact to now see themselves as being vulnerable to these means of irregular migration.
All right, Mr. Osemene, still with you. We know you've shared the stories many times. You've even written, you wrote a book, Chasing the Mirage. Can you share, for the benefit of Nigerians watching you for the first time, what exactly took you on that journey and what you went through?
I read that book because of my experience, which was very terrible and horrible. I graduated 1998 from the University of Benin. Actually looked for a job and didn't get a job. I tried to travel to secure a visa and a passport, and unfortunately I got a fake visa, from these visa racketeers, unknowingly to me that the visa would not take me anywhere. It was a UK visa. When I got to the airport, it was turned down. you know, and the next available opportunity that came, alternative that came was, why are you wasting time? You get to Spain in 5 days' time. You have if you have up to 150,000, 200, you are in Spain, and there's a job waiting for me and everything. And being that I was in a state of, I was in a bad state then. I'd lost, my business has crumbled. You know, I've lost hope. You know, all I needed was, that was the best opportunity for me at that point in time. I said, well, if I can be in Europe in 5 days' time, why am I wasting time here? I found myself in the Sahara Desert. And be sincere to you that I saw Nigerians, Nigerian youth, Nigerian girls and boys and our youths running out of this country as if there was war. And let me tell you, I heard when you were in your analysis, when you were saying that the reason for some of this thing is because of Niger Delta crisis and the Boko Haram war. Well, it's an excuse. But most people who are on that route are not from that region. You understand? The region, the most people who are on that road are those ones that wants to run out to get money. They believe that they have told them the story that the dollars and euro are on the streets of Italy and the streets of Spain. You know, and that is the mindset. The moment, at the end of the day, you see that people die. A lot of people were dying in the desert. A lot of people were dying in the camps. A lot of people were dying in detention. And till I got to Tripoli, where I even saw the worst, where people were being returned dead from the sea. So I decided to return back. I was telling myself on a trip, I said, why should I embark on this journey? I'm supposed to be a king in my country. Why? What brought me into this situation? And let me tell you the truth, I never knew I was going to go through the desert, because the story was, you're going to go through African countries and it was going to be a kind of tourist journey. You know, you spend your time in a hotel. And for the fact that I was in the mood of living the foreshore of this country, I didn't look at the other side of the story. You know, I went and saw myself in desert with hundreds of Nigerians dead. We're over 200 where we're living Kano, and before I could get to some states in Libya, we have reduced the number. Some dropped dead on the road, and some couldn't make it to the end of the whole story. So it formed, I said, well, if this, as far as I'm alive, if God can take me back to Nigeria, that I will not allow this to continue, because we have lost a lot of people, we have lost a lot of resources, people died in my presence, and I almost died. When I came back, I was like a victim of, I was like an AIDS patient. You know, and it took me a lot to recover. It took me 1 year to get back to myself and plan that. I said, I'm going to document this, and I'm going to let the world know that this journey is a perilous journey. It's a journey that nobody will advise his or her enemy to embark on, no matter what. And I found out that we are not doing enough, that people don't really know the dangers about these things, and we are not really talking about it. They are more active. When I say they are more active, every returnee, most of the returnees that come back, most of the victims that come back end up becoming traffickers. And they are more in number because they feel that it's a lucrative business. You know, so that prompted my writing the book and my going into this campaign and ensuring that I use everything in my life to ensure that this journey must stop.
Thank you, Osemene. We'll return to you in the course of this conversation. But now we've been joined by one of our guests from our Enugu Network Center, and that's talking about the
Ijoma
Nnaji. Yes, Ijoma Nnaji is actually
She's the Southeast Zonal Coordinator.
Network of Civil Society Against Child Traffickers, Abuse and Labor. Ijoma, it's a pleasure having you on our show this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you indeed. We'll get back to you very shortly. But for now, let's stay with the NAPTIP DG. Now, we've had a story, you know, from Osemene. In spite of the deaths and the inhumane treatment, you know, in the cost of leaving this country, the migration persists. So what, in your opinion, is the cause of this?
Well, like Mosita said, there are so many factors responsible for this. It's a combination of various factors. We have issues of poverty. We also have issues of lack of education. On the other hand, we have greed, and there's peer pressure from, you know, your friends. Even it will interest you to know that parents are also part of this problem. Some parents even pressure their children to embark on this journey, you understand, because for quick money and all of that, you know. So it's a combination of various factors. I'm glad Osita was able to make it back, because so many people don't come back, you know, from this journey. They just have this false belief that it's greener on the other side. And, you know, they trick them. Some of them are actually abducted, you know, to embark on this journey, and they are deceived. There are so many factors, you know, involved in this. And, you know, it's even gone beyond sexual exploitation or cheap labor now. It's now graduated to organ harvesting. You know, I mean, he was lucky to have come back home, because now most people don't even come back alive. They just, you know, take off their organs and trade with the organs. So it's easier for them now, you know, to just sell off organs for as much as $400,000 US. That's how bad it is now, you know.
All right, DG NAPTIP, we'll get back to you in the course of the conversation. We would like to quickly introduce another guest at this point, who is joining us via Skype from Aminu Kano Airport, former ambassador of Nigeria's former ambassador to Libya, Ambassador M.K. Ibrahim Ahmed. Ambassador Ahmed, good morning to you. You well, if okay, well, while we'll try to sort out the audio okay, we'll join Ambassador Ahmed as soon as we can rectify this sound from that part of the country. Okay, let's take our next question to Enugu. Right, we earlier introduced Mrs. Ijoma Naji of the Network of Civil Society Against Child Traffickers. Well, so much have been said. We'll add the account of Osita Osemene, as well as some other stories coming in from Libya, Spain, as well as other ones who had to pass through the desert. What exactly is still fueling these stories, or people trying to cross the deserts, pass through the seas to actually get to Europe? Why is this still persistent despite all efforts?
We will have to talk to the basics. Have we addressed the issues that we have in our country in terms of people who parents have borrowed money to train and there is no work? Have we spoken to the issues of poverty? Have we spoken to the issues of hunger? Have we spoken to the issues of greed and peer pressure, like the NAPTIP boss said? Have we spoken to the issues of ignorance, timidity? When we talk about trafficking, it emanates from our communities. It emanates from our home. It emanates from what these younger people see. How many of them read the map to see where there is water, even when you are coming from a landlocked area? How many of them read the map to see the Sahara Desert or the kind of things they will go through? Like Osita talked about the palatable dishes that they are being shown. It is because of what our country have descended to. The pictures we give about overseas, the pictures and films we show about America, Germany, and every other country that is not Nigeria, people think that you can pluck money on the streets. That is why you see parents selling their lands to support their children to go to South Africa and even Libya. Going to Libya, if you are a mother or a father, knowing fully well that there is war in Libya, that there is no village that is out of war in Libya, and knowing fully well that your child will cross deserts, the question you'll ask me, how many parents know what desert is? So these are very big issues. Are there more supporting civil societies to do this work? No. How many civil societies are entering into talking about issues of migration in Nigeria? Very, very few. Because bigger organizations that are supporting them are not coming forth to support the grassroots movement to speak to these issues. when the community will stand out to talk about what is happening in their communities as regards to smugglers, as regards to these managers, as regards to this peer pressure on our children and youth, then we will be going somewhere. And when the people who are bestowed to take care of other structures that will speak to this are able to do justice with the resources they are given, we will see a turnaround. When NTA will keep having an advertisement speaking to these issues of migration and why people shouldn't even leave the shores. There is free food in Nigeria, I tell you, but there is no free food in any other place in this world. You can't get it free at any other place. This place is blessed. Nigeria is blessed. It is just that we are in our very little situation, think that everything is not going well for us. When accountability and good governance will rule this country, things will change. And it will only change when the people we ask to take custody of things that will happen to us are brought to book. And
all right, Mrs. Nnaji, we're going to come back to you as the program progresses. But for now, we'd like to re-establish link with one of our guests at the Kano Airport, and that's former ambassador to Libya, Ambassador MK Ibrahim Ahmed. Hello, Ambassador. Good morning, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
As a former ambassador, from your experience, Libya appears to have attracted many Nigerians with the tale of woes twirling their sojourns. Now, let's have your perspective from your days in Libya as ambassador.
Very much. Previous speakers have enumerated the reasons for the irregular migration from Nigeria. But the political one, in 2000, when Gaddafi started with the union government project, he made it clear that everybody was welcome in Africa, that Africa was for Africans, and Africans should feel free to move from any part of Africa, And that encouraged a lot of people from sub-Saharan Africa to move to Libya. Even though Libya wasn't the destination, they really wanted to cross the Mediterranean to Europe, but it encouraged them. Sadly, the situation in Libya was extremely horrible for most of these Africans. They encountered a lot of difficulties. There was no employment, there are elements of racism, there was cultural conflict. Libya is almost 100% Islamic, and most of the people going through Libya are not Muslim, they don't have the same culture, and that seemed to bring the issue of conflict, cultural conflict. And with lack of employment in Libya, unfortunately, a lot of the migrants started committing crimes, from prostitution, to robbery, burglary, and all kinds of things. At one point, when I was ambassador, there were more Nigerians in Libyan prison than Libyans in their own prison. I have witnessed the execution of over 20 Nigerians, sadly. And we worked very hard to get some of these Nigerians repatriated back home. Even though we succeeded, sadly, 70% of them returned to Libya within 1 month after they had been repatriated home. The government has done a lot in terms of legislation, but we have to go beyond that, to public awareness. Let the people know the risk involved in this hazardous journey. I can only remember it was over 30 years ago, the popular jingle, Andrew, taking off. Since then, there has not been anything similar to that. So I must add that, in addition to the legislative action, we have NAPTIP, we have the Act, against human trafficking. We must also create the platform, for awareness, because not less than 60 to 70% of those who take the risk end up either perishing in the desert or perishing, in the Mediterranean Sea. When I went to Lampedusa, it was the most horrible thing I've seen in my life. You see human beings just floating, on the sea. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, in the Nigerian mission in Libya, we had no means of knowing who are Nigerians, because these people destroy their passport as soon as they enter into the desert. They start bearing names that are not their original names. They carry Arabic names, people who are not Muslims. They don't register with the embassy. At one point, we believe we have over 15,000 Nigerians in Libya, but less than 100 registered with the embassy. So we only managed to hear about them when they had difficulties or when they were in prison. That was extremely sad.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Now, Ambassador, you have been in Libya for a while and you understand the culture and the government of the people. Now, many Nigerians there are actually calling for evacuation. They want to leave that country. What would be your advice to the current administration with respect to, creating an environment that will enable most of those Nigerians to return to Nigeria? Because, of course, some are tired, they want to leave.
We don't know what to say on this, because we have done that countless times, countless. We have repatriated Nigerians many times. The same people that complain of difficulties, now you repatriate them. Within a month, they want to go back. In fact, they call this repatriation as free ticket to come home. And the government has done a lot. They are determined, and there's nothing that you can do. They are not really poor people as such, because the cost of some of them pay as much as $2,000, $3,000 to get a place in these rickety boats, carrying them from Libya to Lampedusa in Italy. The average Nigerian, even if you're a worker, you don't earn that kind of money. They borrow money, their family raise money for them, to go for this terrible, journey. So the answer is not straightforward. That's why I'm emphasizing that we have done a lot in terms of legislation, but we have to create the awareness. You in the media, probably, you can, try and monitor this journey, go through the Sahara, take pictures. I have seen dead bodies, in the Sahara Desert. We couldn't do much, as an embassy. Libya is twice the area size of Nigeria. There are just, probably 5 or 7 staff, in Tripoli. What can they do? But the public awareness is equally important. We're not doing much on that. The emphasis is on legislation, which we have done, but there must be public awareness. Let me go further and probably also suggest we should have something similar to the joint task force, bringing together all the immigration officers, from Nigeria, from Niger, and probably Chad, if we could extend it, to Libya and Algeria, that would be fine. But it is easy, very easy. The corruption aspect of it is a serious factor. Once you have a passport, well, under the free movement of ECOWAS, nobody can stop you from going to Niger. But once you go to Agadas, that is the point where you leave Niger and start the hazardous journey in the desert. Nobody is stopping you. But if we create this, probably a joint task force, comprising the immigration officials of all these countries, maybe it will do something. Most of these irregular traffickers and those who are the irregular migrants are between the ages of 25 and 35. Can we consider probably scrutinizing them more before issuing them with the passport. I know that has its own political implications, but something has to be done. We can't allow our citizens to be dying like that. It's disgraceful, to a country like Nigeria. We're not the poorest country in West Africa, but our citizens, are those, Nigeria, Ghana in particular, who constitute the majority of those who are involved, in this irregular migration. Something has to be done.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador. We'll get back to you in the course of the discussion. Still, back to us in the Abuja studio. DG NAPTIP. Yeah. Earlier on, Mr. Semene talked about even some of the persons who had returned, at least those who were lucky to come back, or those who are actually brought back through whatever means that they have been returned. And they find a way back to such illicit movements because nothing seems to have been done to actually checkmate that. What exactly is a body like NAPTIP, as well as other collaborations that you have, doing to actually break this, this jinx of I must go, or whatever it is that is connecting them back to Europe?
Well, the only thing that we can do as NAPTIP is to create awareness.
How much is this awareness going?
Yeah. We partner with all the state governors. We also partner with the local governments as well as the civil society organizations. We also partner with the faith-based organizations, the leaders of churches and all of that. I mean, if those leaders can speak to their people, because first of all, before being Nigerians, all of these people we're talking about come from various communities. So the idea is that if their leaders can speak to them and tell them of the dangers and consequences of this migration problem or trafficking, as the case may be, because that's where we are concerned. We're not really concerned about the migration bit of it. But the truth is that one leads to the other. From illegal migration, you can easily be trafficked because you're vulnerable. They take advantage of the fact that you don't have the documents to stay or to work in these countries. So that's why we also see ourselves concerning ourselves with this illegal migration thing. So, I mean, if they keep, raising this awareness to them, and it's strange because most of these guys are computer savvy. They go on the internet and they see these stories, they hear these stories, but what do they say? Oh, it's not my portion. So whose portion is it? So the least we can do is to continue to create awareness. We are not giving up because on the 27th of July, we are going to launch a massive awareness campaign, and we are going to really go into every corner. It's not just a state thing. Now we're going to the grassroots and everywhere. We are going to, launch this campaign and hope that it's going to stop or reduce the number of this illegal migration or trafficking.
But for those you have taken in the last months, say years, what have been their fate? Is NAPTIP following up on even whatever? Because, like, even from the position from Mrs. Naji in Enugu said, some of those people actually, you even recounted that, their parents get involved. They get to hear, okay, there's a lucrative job or there are lucrative jobs somewhere across Europe. But did they take time to find out? Are you in connection with some of those other organizations out there across the Mediterranean Sea? What exactly is happening with some of these traffickers? How are you following up on their needs?
Now we have collaboration with most of these countries. We work with their police as well. Okay. And, but what we do is, if they're able to arrest the traffickers on the other side, they help us, to maybe repatriate them so we can try them. And then we are trying to talk to them, help us to also prosecute them and find out who these traffickers are, not just the victims, because we found out a situation whereby most of the time we see ourselves dealing with the victims. They repatriate the victims of trafficking to us. Okay. But we've not really seen much of the traffickers themselves being repatriated or being prosecuted and convicted on the other side. So we are telling our international partners that we want to see more of that happen. We want to hear and see a situation where you actually prosecute these traffickers there or send them back to us to prosecute. So we are working on that, and we're hoping to get more of that as time goes on.
Do we have Nigerian traffickers, collaborating with the foreign traffickers?
Oh, definitely. If you don't have the demand and the profit on the other side, then of course there can be no trafficking. So we have the Nigerian traffickers on this side collaborating with their Nigerian counterparts on the other side, as well as their European counterparts.
Okay,
all right,
I think we have some tweets before we
go to Osita. Okay, all right.
Lagos. Okay, we have reactions already from Nigerians. We quickly read through them and we'll proceed with the next set of questions. Dele Jack Solomon has this tweet: Nigeria needs to identify and enable migration and development policies that support human resource development rather than restricting mobility.
And from Nuhu Jimo, this is a topic that needs to be addressed urgently.
From Sani Michael Omakoji, if our economy is good, Nigerians have no need to pass through the desert or sea to other countries in search of greener pastures.
And also, Jackson Solomon, many of our young persons migrate in search of better earnings and value for remittances to homes to develop the individual's family and community.
From Mike Anyako is this tweet: illegal migration is as a result of bad governance, poverty, hunger, insecurity, and state of hopelessness. Government should get it right.
Now from Innocent Yawal James, he said only a dead-minded person would engage in illegal migration and end up being a criminal or wanted guest to other countries.
Another tweet from Dele Jack Solomon: there is a need for the federal government to develop advocacy programs against irregular migration in schools and worship places on the dangers of illegal migration.
All right.
Okay.
And Festus Kimboye now, stop risking your lives trying to get to Europe through the sea and desert because there's no pasture that's green in Europe.
And he continues: until government tackles corruption, poverty, and youth unemployment, Nigerians will continue to die in the sea and desert trying to get to Europe.
And from Abkundus Uwokili, Nigerian government must put in place vigorous laws and agencies to run after those who are promising people better life out of the country.
Sani Michael Omakoji again: aside government's role in migration, citizens should also be reoriented in schools and religious houses on the danger of illegal migration.
All right, now let's return to Osita Osemene in Lagos. Osita, you are an experienced person in this. I mean, nobody can tell the story better than you, all right? And you know what is out there, you know what the picture looks like. Now, what can be done? In all sincerity of purpose, what would you suggest to the government to do? Because, of course, you know what is happening, and it's a daily occurrence. What would be your advice on how best to stop Nigerians from believing that everything is rosy outside this country?
Thank you very much. I believe one of the best solutions and the way we can actually reduce this menace is consistent sensitization and awareness about the dangers. It's not just a one-off sensitization. It's going to go beyond just mapping out a day or 2 days to do grassroots sensitization. It's an endemic, something that has become epidemic in the system, that people, if you come out in the parks where people move, you will be surprised the way young boys at the age of 18 to 25 with their bags at the back want to run out of this country. So it's something that we must do. We must be consistent about it, and government need to be serious. You see, on government side, they must be sincere about developmental issues. You know, not just paying lip services to issues of empowerment and job opportunities. They need to go beyond ensuring that the country has an enabling environment for youths. Because at the end of the day, you find out that the youths still don't have a place in the society. They still don't, they cannot fit in. A lot of youths are stranded on the street in Nigeria, and you can't tell me that these people are not vulnerable. You see, no matter the kind of campaign you take to the streets of the nook and crannies of this country, if things are not addressed, if issues of unemployment and issues of job opportunities and how enabling environment, no light, and people that have shops cannot run their shops comfortably, you know, people will still migrate. So they need to address those issues from the side of the government and the side of the civil society and government agencies. We also need to be consistent. We also need to be sincere with our campaigns. We need to go beyond the monetary aspect and go down with strong passion to families, because involve a lot of people. The parents should be involved, the churches should be involved, the mosque should be involved, the institutions should be involved, and we should develop materials that will go down to the system, not just coming, there was a time the issue of HIV was taken to the streets in Nigeria, and I can attest to you that HIV became a kind of a brand in every family. So if we can make it, if we are sincere with our campaign and our awareness and make it a brand in our families, the issue of irregular migration will go down. Weeks back, you see people at Morocco, people were climbing walls to cross over to the other country in Spain. When they climb, the ones that succeeded will be clapping. The ones that fall from up as a result of the security agencies pushing them down, some got injured, some will even die at the cause of this. These things should be shown to our younger generations, letting them know that this is not a means to survive. This way cannot make you get to where you're going to. And from people like us who have experience, who have, like I tell people, there is no way I will encounter a youth and tell you, don't go to abroad through the road. You will tell me you will go, because I have seen it all. There is nothing I did not see on that road to Europe. You understand? There is nothing I did not go through. You will see people eating flesh. You will see people drinking their urine. You will see people begging to die. So you cannot allow even anybody to go through it. So we should go through this campaign, and therefore that Nigerians see it through the eyes of those that have come. Yes, of a truth. People who return back want to go back. But there are people who have returned back and they are doing well and can be used as an example to those who want to go. You understand? Let us look at it and balance it. Government side play their role, the civil society play your role, parents play your role, and I think this thing can be reduced. Thank you.
Just for you to conclude what you've started, you said people return and go back. Is there any kind of job available? Because if anybody has seen all you've seen and still wants to return, there may be something going there. Is there any kind of jobs that they do that sustain them and why they should return?
There is anybody that is going to Europe that ends up in Libya is on transit. So some persons, when they go there and they've not gotten to Europe, they want to get to the end. They want to go to Europe, because the issue is, when you get, Libya is not their destination. So if you succeed in desert and succeed in Mediterranean Sea, where you're going to is Libya. Their own disposition is, when I get to Europe, at the end of the day, I will make it. So for those that return from Libya, maybe as a result of the suffering, or maybe they get stranded and they return back, they still want to try, because their target is Europe. So that's why I said people who return still want to go back to Europe because they've not gotten to their destination. You understand? Someone like me, I returned back because I knew that for you to make it well in this life, it is not going through that process. You don't go through hell. You don't go through hellfire before you make your money. So, or you die before you make your money. So it is not a process. It's not a good process to making your money, because the dangers associated with it is so enormous. So I tell people, when you come back, rather than going back, making sure that, yes, I must still get to Europe, you stay back after all, since I returned back and I'm into this advocacy issues now and awareness, I've traveled out of the country several times. So it is not a must that you must get through Europe via desert or via Mediterranean Sea before you can make it. That is my own position.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Osemene. We'll still come back to you for other areas of interest. Now, Ambassador, former ambassador to Libya is still with us, joining us via Skype, Ambassador Ibrahim. Now, there are these networks, from what Osita's account and some other accounts that you might have recalled, these illegal networks of persons, especially Nigerians who are in Libya. What can be done to actually break such illegal networks that are there, actually bringing in some of those people from the country or other parts of the continent that they're coming from?
That's one of the most difficult aspects that we have encountered, or I have encountered while I was ambassador. The job of the embassy is to protect, Nigerians in the countries where the countries of your accreditation. And we knew those, the agents who help in facilitating the illegal trafficking. We have reported this to the host authorities, to the Nigerian government. Not much, has been done. And it wasn't our job, as an embassy to start reporting Nigerians, to the host, government. That was really a big dilemma for us. But it's a big mafia network, a very big mafia network. The traffickers, in Nigeria have their agents in Libya. They have their agents even as far as in Rome. They make a lot of money. And we must go after these, the agents, who facilitate the trafficking. If we don't do that, then the success will be very, very little. But above all, we must create hope. Once we are in a state, our youth are in a state of hopelessness. Once people are in this situation, they can take every kind of risk because there is very little difference between life and death, to them. So it is important that we must create hope in the minds, of the youth. Government has started doing that through all kinds of projects, but we must go beyond that. There's, before I go, there is one very important thing that I have to mention. Every time you bring back these illegal migrants, when you repatriate them, from our own statistics, not less than half of them, have HIV or other infectious diseases. And we made a recommendation that when they come, you have to quarantine them, check them medically, debrief them before you set them loose, in the society. But it has never happened. There was a time that 1,004 were repatriated from Libya, and we got all the medical reports. And believe me, more than half of them have HIV or other very serious, communicable diseases. But we recommended that they should be quarantined at Murtala Mohammed Airport, and treat them or know their status before you allow them to go. But as soon as they arrive, at midnight, and their relations came and just collected them. And these people just went, with all these things. So the government has to get in touch, with the embassies, so that we synchronize the programs, bringing back, repatriating, Nigerians, illegal migrants, not just to bring them back like that. So there's a lot, to be done. It's not something that you do in ad hoc basis. In other places, there should be a think tank for that. Let them look at every facet of this illegal migration. There is a lot that should be done. The media should be involved, and as others have said, all stakeholders, should be involved. But above all, as I said, we must create hope in the minds, of the youth.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador M.K. Ibrahim, for your thoughts and the insight this morning's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. We appreciate your time. We know you want to catch your flight, having joined us from Kano International Airport. Thank you once again for being part of our show this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, Mrs. Naj, we'll return to you in a short while, but we want to get some clarifications, from Osita in Lagos. Now, of course, among all of us, he's the only one that has experience. So, Osita, we know we have a smuggling ring, so to speak, in those who are in Libya, maybe, and other, neighboring countries, or the stretch, actually, that leads to Europe. How can that be broken? Do you think there's a way the ring can be broken, talking from your world of experience in this?
You take that again. It was not clear.
Yeah, about the ring, because we know that as the NAPTIP DG said, it's a network, right? It's a chain of network. The smugglers on the other side and smugglers here. So we're talking about smuggling network here. On the other side, and then on our own side? Is there any way they could be broken, in your opinion?
Serious issue is a serious issue. Like I said, if you listen very well to when I was breaking down my experience and how it happens, you know, I said every returned migrant, every victim of trafficking or smuggled migrant is a potential trafficker. You understand? So it becomes very difficult to even talk about the ring. It's an organized, you know, chain of networks that has to go from even the families, friends, you know, borders, even security agencies. They're all involved. You understand? Okay, let's come to Nigeria. Most times when the border is tough, even at our borderline in Nigeria, some of the security agencies inform some of these traffickers and smugglers that, look, oh, today is not clear. You can move in tomorrow or move in so time. So the chain is so strong that it cannot be broken. You understand? But the only way I feel it can be weakened is if there is a connection, a kind of a cordial, you know, relationship between various countries, like the Nigerian Republic. You know, the Nigerian Republic, they have people who are receiving. They receive either smuggled victims or victims of trafficking. You know, they keep them in their connection houses. At every state, in Zinden, in Agadez, in Duruku, they have camps. And these are owned by citizens, you understand, that have their houses known. So the government of those countries know all these people. And these people, they know the ones that connect them from Nigeria. You go to Libya, you have Nigerians who maybe they were stranded along the line. They decided to establish their businesses in these countries in Libya, like in Gatron, in Sabah, in Muzuk. They have connection houses. These are Nigerians. And like from what the former ambassador was saying, it's not as if they don't know them, and it's not as if they have not complained in one way or the other, but it's difficult to get some of these people. And these people, they have connection houses, they have restaurants, they run restaurants in Libya, and they keep these people, they buy some of these our girls when they come. Because my first experience was when I saw when they were buying our guests, and these people were those running restaurants and beer parlors in some of these countries, like in Libya and some of these states. They buy these girls and sell these girls to other traffickers. You understand? So at the end of the day, you see that everybody is involved. Then there is somebody, there is a Libyan citizen waiting. Either a Libyan police or a Libyan military, you have people in the Navy in Libya that buys these people, that helps in facilitating their movement from Libya to Europe. So it's a very strong network. And I think it has to do with collaborations. You know, when you get to the Italian side, the same thing. You get to the Spanish side, the same thing. There are people who also collaborate with some of these people. It's a strong network. So the only way this thing can work is when people are returned, they should be properly taken care of. They should be properly attended to. I'm not saying you should start giving them money or what. They should go through an orientation program. They should go through a kind of a training. It might not be vocational, but a kind of training, an orientation program, because most of these returnees end up becoming smugglers, and they have linked to these smugglers. And at the end of the day, if we are doing a proper and a very massive awareness and sensitization about how this thing works, the powers of these smugglers and traffickers will reduce, because it's a strong network, and the only way it can reduce is to weaken their operation. But when everybody is aware of how they operate and how they maltreat people, as of today, I have a lot of people in a particular camp in Libya. They call it Biafran Ghetto in Libya, that are stranded, looking for a way. We were able to raise about some money last week to send to them so that they get to IOM office in Tripoli to get assistance to come back. You know, these are people, this ghetto is being run by Nigerians, being run by blacks, and they torture fellow Nigerians because they have been groomed on the street, and they are now traffickers. Some of them are smugglers. You know, at the end of you also see them in Tripoli, the same group of people. So the only way we can do it is to increase our awareness and also enhance the way we take care of these returnees. When they come back, don't leave them to the street. just like that. Attend to them health-wise, attend to them economic-wise. If there is any way we can put them back into the school or get them a job, link them to getting a job placement, which I know is not easy, we can also put them into vocational skill acquisition training to get them engaged and remove their mindset from this thing. In that way, we can weaken the operations of some of these smugglers and traffickers.
This is not an easy,
well, Kirian, really, I don't know what parents, mother, father, will hear such gory stories and still insist that their words will actually go through such a means. Well, we'll go over now to Enugu. This is Naji. We know your own network too is doing a whole lot to actually checkmate some of these activities. Now you would like to share some of the experience with us, what you've been able to do in terms of stemming this ugly tide through different aspects, internal as well as international emerging trends in migration. What should the Nigerian landscape be doing to actually address some of these areas as raised by every one of you on the program already?
NAPTIP has been doing a very great work. I must give kudos to NAPTIP for their coordinators that are past and the present. NAPTIP has shelter in Enugu, for instance. They do have shelters all over some other states. But their shelters are not enough for these returnees. I know that they do counseling. I know that they give them psychosocial support. And I know that they encourage them on income-generating activities to strengthen them economically while they trace their homes. These are things the civil societies can help to do in the various communities these individuals are coming from. I can appreciate what the ambassador said. If you still have work, you cannot say that your work has finished. Repatriating Nigerians who want to come back will be a duty that Nigeria must do and will continue to do. We will not say that people who come back go back, and that is why we will stop bringing them back. There are so many of them who want to come back. If you even go to Pakistan, there are so many Nigerians in prisons, and they want to come back. Even in Europe, so many people want to come back. Can't we have a kind of program that will determine that the federal government will ask Nigerians who are slaves in South Africa and several other countries that want to come back, and then, as they are coming back, identify their states, support shelters that are in those states, support psychologists, so that they will have to speak to the issues of their psychosocial support. Make them have skills that can be useful for themselves, their families, and of course, the community in general. Most of them you see going back. Go back because their parents must have sold so many things, their land, their house, and whatever for them to go. So they are ashamed of coming back home without anything. Most of them you see that go back goes for a kind of retaliation. Somebody did this to me, I must have to do it to somebody else. So what we are saying is that we have to go back to the community, go back to the family level, and enhance the already existing capacity in the communities to speak to this continuously. It is not just a one-off awareness campaign. I could remember about 8 years ago, when Wani Jomo Koronkwo was the zonal coordinator of NAPTIP in Southeast. This lady goes with some of our organizations through the nooks and crannies in the communities to speak to the issue of trafficking and even support community social capitals to speak to these issues, for them to identify when somebody is coming to take people away, you know, giving them good pictures of what he or she is going to do for them, and to identify that that person doesn't mean well. And I know that if you go to Tonkon in Benue State as I speak, though one of the NAPTIP bosses came from there, that the community is so sensitized that they know what to do. When they see you coming to tell them that you have a very big fashion house where their child will work, in fact, working is not not a problem. That in fact, you come spreading money and spreading wrappers to women. You know us now. When you give us wrapper, we will be so happy, you know, having a new wrapper, and we don't even want to think about what will happen to the child we are giving to you. So the government has to empower NAPTIP. NAPTIP has gotten so many resources in terms of trainings of their staff. Empower more people, employ more people for NAPTIP. Support them with all the necessary resources. Support the NAPTIP coordinator to go through some of these zones and then appreciate what exists in the zones. There was a time Southeast is known for baby sales, and we have baby making factories. It is from the needs and from what was emerging in the Southeast that made this then Southeast Zonal Coordinator of NAPTIP take it up to the level of the national. And they had her. And things are going well now because people are looking out for those houses where you will see these social mothers. And state government has even taken it upon themselves to empower hospitals and maternities that are registered and known to the government.
All right, Ijoma, well spoken. Thank you indeed. And I'm sure the NAPTIP DG is agreeing with her because she's already soliciting for support for NAPTIP, you know, to go further. This is Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Service, and we are looking at irregular migration, a recurring dilemma. When we return, the program will continue. Stay with us.
Oh boy, climb this thing now. No be only to connect lights. Come you and yourself now. Now wow. Oh boy, come down now. Oga Kasali electrician who they look for with this. Oh, Oga Kasali, come help us fix this wire now.
Sorry, I no longer carry out illegal connection. It puts the lives of people at risk and can cause fire outbreak and disrupt power supply. I will never be part of anything that has to do with this any longer because change begins with me.
Oh boy, letting him talk makes sense. Oh boy, we could carry this ladder from over.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Admission forms for the 2017-2018 academic session of NTA Television College JAWS into its diploma programs are now on sale. The diploma programs are in film and TV production, broadcast journalism, and TV engineering technology. Applicants are required to have at least 5 credits, including English language and mathematics at SSC, NECO, or GCO levels in not more than 1 sitting. Application forms can be obtained from the TV College Refi JAWS or at any NTA zonal centers nationwide on payment of a non-refundable fee of 7,500 Naira in bank draft in favor of NTA Television College. Completed application forms should be returned to the Office of the Academic Secretary, NTA Television College, or the Center of Purchase on or before 28th of July 2017. For further inquiries, please call 0806 980 9807 or 0703 660 7155. NTA Television College, training you to be the best you can be.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and our focus is on irregular migration, a recurring dilemma for what we've talked about. I'm sure most of us want to see we should put a stop to this, really. Reactions, more reactions from our viewers, and we'll quickly run through them, and we'll find some possible solutions in sight. Arise Monday says federal government and its agencies have to embark on massive campaign against illegal migration that will help to check the erroneous belief of our youth.
All right, from Onyedi Kingsley, he says the pictorial displays of the harsh Sahara experience is pitiable. Let's treat migration as a grassroots problem. Together we can.
From Nuhu Jimo is this tweet. We need to create more awareness in order to orientate our youth on the dangers of this kind of fruitless journey.
Okay, Suleiman Sanusi, what do you expect with the youth? Loss of faith with the government at all levels, to an extent that of leveling our own country as a hell. What do you expect?
So from Kingsley Madu, nice discourse on migration. Its negative effect on the rural economy is dangerous. Let's get to the basics and also treat it.
Now, Abdul Kundus Wakili, those using Boko Haram and Niger Delta crisis as a means of going for greener pasture are the worst enemies to themselves. This is greed.
Certainly. From Sani Michael Omakoji, media, as part of their corporate responsibility, should also be involved in educating the masses on the dangers of illegal migration. Exactly, that is what we're doing now, Sani.
Okay, now from Jerry Uhio, it will be possible to reduce cases of trafficking if our leaders place priority on human capacity development.
From Suleiman Sanusi again, we have another tweet. While all the guest speakers in the studio put the blame on the majority masses and they turn a blind eye with government exploitations. Why?
Okay, Ode Samuel, Nigerian government is to blame because they do little or nothing to provide conducive environment for the citizens.
Oh, Jimo, I agree with the ambassador. We need to create more awareness because my youth are not aware of the dangers of this kind of journey.
Well, Law Alpha says NAPTIP isn't doing enough in the area of orientation and creation of awareness and getting the returnees meaningfully engaged.
Arise Monday says the federal government should, as a matter of urgency, collaborate with African Union to secure the release of Nigerians who are currently imprisoned in Libya.
DG NAPTIP, I hope you can come in here. Somebody says you're not doing enough. Would you react to that?
Oh, yes. We are doing more than enough. We are doing a lot of campaign. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not a one-off thing. It's a continuous thing. You know, we have 9 zonal commands across 9 various states and then the FCT. Every Thursday, for example, we go out to the streets, we go to schools, we go to churches, everywhere you can think of to campaign, to create awareness. And this goes on simultaneously in the 9 zonal commands. Now, we intend to take this to the 36 states of Nigeria and all the local governments as well. You know, we talk to the leaders, the church leaders, we talk to the mosque leaders, we talk to the youth leaders, it's massive, you know, it's not a one-off thing. We are actually doing a lot. Well, of course, we can do more and we plan to do more. But this is not just a job for NAPTIP. This is a job that involves each and every one of us. You know, the media is involved, every one of us, including the writers of the tweets. It's something that is not a one-man show. You know, it's not just a federal government problem. It's a problem that involves each and every one of us. And how do we, you know, most of the time, how do we react? We work based on information. Of course, we are proactive enough to go out to do some surveillance and get information on our own. But what will also help us is getting information from as many people as possible. A lot of people see and know what is going on, but they don't talk. You know, so we need information, and we're actually doing a lot in terms of awareness.
Mrs. Naji said that NAPTIP needs to be reinforced or re-energized, so to speak. Do you need to be re-energized?
Well, in terms of more funding, yes, of course, we need a lot of funding because, like she said, this is not a small job. You know, it requires a lot of funding, and the federal government would do well.
Where will this funding be going? Exactly where and what will this funding be required to secure?
The funding will be required to go into 4 major issues. Now, the first one is awareness, which is prevention. To prevent this crime is much better and easier than to cure it. So the first place this funding will go to is to raise awareness, which you know is very expensive. Now, we are also going to protect our victims. Like Mrs. Naji said, we have shelters. We have 10 shelters spread across 10 different states. Now, when we receive these victims, we rehabilitate them, we counsel them. we rehabilitate them, and then we also reintegrate them back into the society. Counseling them requires money. Rehabilitating them requires money because we teach them various skills, and then we reintegrate them back into the society with starter packs. This also requires money. And then now we prosecute these criminals. We don't allow them to go free. And to prosecute them requires money as well. We take them to court. We follow through until we're able to secure a conviction. And then, of course, we partner. We go around to get more partners, like we're partnering with NTA to give, to raise awareness via television. We partner with radio stations. We partner with, civil society organizations like Madam's organization and all of that. And, of course, now we're going to partner with Mr. Osita, who is going to be one of our speakers to raise more awareness as we continue with this massive awareness campaign, which we've already embarked on and which we hope to continue for as long as it takes. All right, thank you very much, DG. Well, Mr. Osamene, remember you got this job right on NTA. Thank you very much. But while we'll take a look at managing the different challenges and intervention from the origin, transit, destination countries, as well as the regional, as in on the continent, where would you want to see more action taken? You went through a route, and all through, I'm sure there were border posts, there were checks, and other security agents on the road. Where did you find the most challenging or complex situation to actually address this issue?
At every point, there is a challenge. At every point, there's a challenge. At the border, there's a challenge, but borders are very easy. They're easier to cross. But after, let me say, the Nigerian border, after the Nigerian border, you go into the cities or the states, maybe in Niger or in another country where you are going to on transit. The challenges are so enormous because you are being kept like a slave in the camp you are. So I think we can start addressing it first from the border, because what I said is easy, that everybody is involved in the border. If the areas can be checked, fine. In Nigerian borders, you can present your passport and you cross, but a lot of migrants or a lot of victims are being crossed without their papers, without their documents. And even those that have stamped their documents also find it difficult, because at the end of the day, when you stamp, when you get into the other country, you are made to sell off that document. They will take off that document from you. They will destroy it, because they will tell you definitely that Nigerian document will implicate you on the way. So there's no point identifying yourself as a Nigerian, because some of these Arab countries, they have seen you, and once you are in Nigeria, you are in trouble. So the best thing is you have to identify yourself to be from a different country, maybe like Mauritania or Senegalese, or So the challenges are so enormous. I really feel that we can start addressing it from the borderline. If our immigration, we need to do a lot of work with our Nigerian Immigration Service. We need to do a lot of work. Yes, they have done some, kind of enhancing their security measures at the border, but they need to do a lot on checking the individuals, migrants, people that move. Yes, we have a free movement of persons, right of movement, right of establishment, right of business. But we cannot deny the fact that some of us don't know that these people are migrating for greener pastures. Yes, so we have a lot to do at the borderline. If we can check that border areas, put in a lot of trained personnel, immigration officers that can place the right questions. You can't turn them back, but they can place maybe counseling sections. Then put in a kind of sensitization, continuous sensitization in irregular. There was a time we did it. It was funded by ECOWAS Commission, Spanish Fund. We did it at the border, semi-border. We kept on campaigning. Irregular migration is dangerous. Do not cross. Do not go to desert. Do not go to this. There are some things. Then put some pictorial this in at the borders. Let us check these things like this first and ensure that some of these things, because people believe in what they see and people believe in what they hear. So some of these things can be put in place at the border. Educate some of those officers properly, Because some officers don't even know what crossing the Mediterranean Sea is. They will tell you, what is it? How can somebody say it's crossing by via the Mediterranean Sea? So you need to educate them, equip them with some information, so that at the point of stamping, they will examine and educate some of these migrants.
All right, there is a question that's coming now that we need to ask before we round off this edition of the program. Now, what can NAPTIP do to break the international network of traffickers? This is for the DG NAPTIP. What can NAPTIP actually do to break the international network of traffickers? Now, recently, a Nigerian was arrested in Italy. How much of a breakthrough was that? And again, what are the specifics of Nigeria's collaboration with Libya and Italy?
Well, in terms of what NAPTIP can do to break the international network of traffickers, NAPTIP works with the international partners. So we have something like, if I can call it a joint task force. We partner with the international, for example, in Italy, we partner with the Italian government. We also partner with, I don't know about the Libyan government, but the Italian government will partner with them and some other governments like that. We have a joint task force made up of law enforcement agents. We work closely with the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Nigerian police. So it's a joint task force. We work both here and with the other countries there, with the law enforcement agencies. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I will go over to Enugu now. I would like to take your closing remarks. Yes, so much has been done, so much still needs to be done. Where do you end your post now? Briefly.
Community preparedness. Everything lies with the community. If you have a demand and there is no supply, will we be talking about having a network of smugglers or traffickers? If we are able to do our work well, you will see that parents will have the knowledge. And then the children or the youths that want to go out will say, no, let me tarry here. If I'm dying, let me die in my father's land. And when they don't have such goods that they will smuggle, I think that their trade will go down. And for the people that has come back and want to go back or want to start trafficking other people, we really have to have this structure that will speak to these people when they come back. It is not just bringing them in, yes, we have brought them to Nigeria, and they will just go. No. If we have a camp where they stay, where we have experts in various fields, health, education, counseling, psychosocial support, rehabilitation, we now train them, take them through all this. Before they will go through all this for a year, somebody will have a rethink. We will not have so many people now wanting to do that. But for those of them who don't even want to go back again, what do? We'll make sure emotionally and psychologically that they are stable to uptake whatever that comes their way. But for a sustained awareness campaign, we really need to speak to the communities, train people in the community level that will continue even when we are no longer there to speak to them.
Thank you very much. We'd like to appreciate you, Mrs. Ijoma Naji, for joining us on the program this morning. She's the Southeast Zonal Coordinator of the Network of Civil Society Against Child Traffickers, Abuse and Labor. Thank you very much for your insight on the program this morning. We'd also like to thank Mr. Osita Osemene of the Patriotic Citizen of Nigeria. You joined us from our Lagos studio, and we wish you well in your drive to actually dissuade those other minds that are still there as you work towards stopping this menace of irregular migration and illegal migration as we look at the situation from time to time. Thank you very much. I also want to appreciate the Director General of NAPTIP, Mrs. Julie Oka-Donley. It was a great time with you on the program this morning. Thank you very much. We wish you and your agency well. Now, talking sports, Portugal and Chile will be meeting in their first ever competitive fixture today at the 2017 FIFA Confederations Cup. And actions in the Nigerian Professional Football League resume today with match day 26 fixtures. Now, let's turn to our sports correspondent to tell us more.